Jingelang ka Congress Legislative Party ni CLP kablalong menta kasngi kila yathir Ïatai yaki babun telikimat balapan kre bandra banyak kren Hapoh Ïing Dorbar thawan jong Jylla ka ban Shillong shen kimat ki balai kren hagni ki Jingelang ki balalong menta kasngi kalong ka jingmi pau jong ki dak kishin ka jingki imbyang ki seng leno hag Jylla ka balaslang ban kta ya ka sok kasan bat wanra ru ya ka jings ir mensemi ki paitba ban benrap da kejingmi jong kejing bam snganchu haki surok kilinti kisingkien namar kejing bam larkam kata gerukom trekam jong namar kejing bam larkam kata gerukom trekam jong Sorkar nangta lai keren ru ya kejing e kabagi paitba ke Jylla kelesem baje kendo kre la kesngi kejing im ke jongki kanu tam lele hadin balahab ban penjari ya ka khangdam ke lockdown kum Shibun ban khanglat ya kejing saprang jong ke COVID-19 kablakta ya kelat kamai keji bat kejing e kabagi pait nong rep kilamat hakum kini gipor ki bamenta ka CLP kalai thirru yikimat jong kejing bamlar kam jong ka Sorkar habai dei ba kejing saprang jong ka klam jingpang hagasin ka baar hag Jylla kata ke COVID-19 kiwei pat kimat ke blakren kila benrap ya kejing bamyang kejing sam ya ka boarding hagi thain nong pendong ka umbam ka umdi kejing bamdon ki jaka banthe ne ban bret ya kinyut kinyar hagi thain nong pendong bat ya kiwei
while again further enriching us with all the different inputs that's available before our respective colleagues because as elected representatives we are always privileged to have access to lots of instances of various problems that confront the people and which is again common to the rest of the state. So therefore it has enabled us to again take stock of the issues that is before us and which is confronting the state and the people. And based on that we have prioritized the issues and that is how the issues will be taken up under different provision of the rules of procedure and conduct of business in the August House. And our friends had many issues, but then obviously we also have to look at the limited time that is available before the members. So we have 3 days listed for government business and 3 days for private members. So we would like to effectively utilize the days which is allocated for private members business and also the other time which is available for the members of the August House to be effectively utilized under different provisions of the rules of procedure and conduct of business in the August House. The prevailing sense of insecurity amongst the people across the state, keeping in mind the resurgence and reemergence of various militant activities and insurgent activities across the state. Against the backdrop of palpable feeling of frustration, loss of hope and anger amongst the people, particularly the youth. Against the backdrop of lack of opportunities for any of our people from different walks of life, not just the youth, and the resultant frustration and anger associated with that. So this is one crucial issue which is confronting the people. When we talk to the people, we know how frustrated people are, angry people are about lack of opportunities having been created by the government in the last preceding 3 years. Even the opportunities which have been created have somehow been snatched away by some people. Okay, those are other things which we will dwell when we present it before the August House. That is one part. And obviously the sense of insecurity amongst our brethren who are residing along the interstate border. Because of, I must say, the failure to reinstill the sense of security amongst people by the government of the day. And the failure of the government to respond to a given situation when people are subjected to some kind of instances where they are being intruded upon by people from the neighboring state. So these are palpable instances which have been shared with us and is being seen. That's why I'm saying palpable. It's visible. It's being heard. It's circulating in the social media network. So those are issues of instant occurrences which has drawn the attention of the people, and therefore those are the issues which concern the people, and we are deeply disturbed by this development, and therefore this will be one of the issues. The another part is, the whole issue of curtailing people's way of life, people's rights, liberty, including our food habits. And further, adding, let me not use those little provocative words. Let me just tone it down. I mean, creating a situation where people are feeling depressed for not getting what we should get. Those are issues. And this has never happened in this country. The whole beauty and charm of the huge diversity of this great nation is not being understood. And because of that, the resultant decision of number of authorities from across the country inflicting upon the rights and liberties of the people, including food habits, that is one issue which we'll be taking up. The overall rampant instances of lawlessness. You know what type of lawlessness we are talking about? The lawlessness on the street, the lawlessness on the roads. When the government has refused to enforce the law, then there is lawlessness. So you can see lawlessness even on the roads, on the national highway, in the state highways, in those roads which lead to land custom stations, where you have trucks transporting goods without being regulated by the law of the land, resulting in not just the damage to the roads, the road infrastructure, but resulting in huge loss to the state exchequer, to the nation's exchequer, including instances of road accidents resulting in loss of precious lives. There's a complete lawlessness. Somehow or other we see, that is what the people tell us, that what they see today is as though people who are required to enforce the provision of the law have decided to close their eyes and act as blind. Those are issues that will be taken up in the interest of the state. Then the issue of livelihood, the impact of lack of governance on the lives of the farmers, dislocation of number of programs that was initiated, which were actually designed to enable our farmers to really ensure that the farming activities become or is seen as something remunerative, and therefore create multiple options of livelihood, including generating entrepreneurship and business. These have gone, and this is an issue which the farmers feel we must take up. And people have come, met our colleagues themselves, and requested and asked and urged and stressed the need to take up these issues. So this will be another issue. Then another one is the issue pertaining to the whole, I must say, raising of hand by the government while dealing with the challenges of pandemic. And this is for all of us to be seen, and we must ask the government to actually wake up and respond to its call of duty in as far as dealing with these challenges associated with pandemic is concerned. Besides this, the number of instances, the lack of power supply in the villages, students not being able to really even complete their whole studies, to complete their whole courses of studies. You all know that under the new normal, the educational institutions have resorted to online classes. What happens when there are no electricity supply in the villages? What happens, forget about villages, even in the urban areas? How inconvenienced the students are subjected to, and how frustrating it must be for the students, even for the young kids. The young kids were telling us, sir, look at, we can't attend our online classes just because we don't have power supply. So this is one issue. Then the water supply issue, I've been paying. You know, I, by default, is a resident in the constituency of the Chief Minister himself. And every day, I'll end up spending 1,500 to 2,000 rupees for drinking water in Tura. And I'm sure others are also facing the same problem. So these are instances of problem which is really something where the government is thinking that, okay, they have nothing to do. Then the urban area, I think you know what is happening in urban area. The whole problem pertaining to the lack of initiatives to ensure that the civic amenities of the residents are taken care of. In spite of the programs sponsored by Government of India, in spite of number of initiatives by Government of India, whether it is for rural water supply scheme, whether it is for urban water supply scheme, whether it is for urban infrastructure, you talked about, what do you call it? Smart city concept. Now we are talking about lack of civic amenities in a city which has been identified smart city. So these are issues which our distinguished colleagues in the August House will be taking up under the various available provisions of the rules of procedure and conduct of business. Maintenance of these important infrastructures, the road infrastructure, has been missing for last 3.5 years. Okay. We started number of initiatives to ensure that we have programs covered under externally aided projects, whether it is World Bank, whether it is Japan International Cooperation Agency, or whether it is by ADB, whether it is a fund under the NABARD in the form of Rural Infrastructural Developmental Fund, RIDF. Even the programs which are taken up by and rather covered by funding from these particular institutions, when we go and look at those projects, they are either half done or partly abandoned. This is what is happening. And the roads which were capable of enabling the drivers to drive at least 60 kilometer speed within the legal limit. I traveled to a number of destinations in Garo Hills recently. I had to change my cars. The cars which were used earlier in those roads cannot go. It's only because the overall maintenance of the roads are not taken cognizance of as their responsibility of the government. Number of important roads, just on the vicinity of Tura, in spite of so much of fund which was available, I would urge upon our friends from media to ask the government what happened to the timelines pertaining to the target given by World Bank to spend certain amount of money within a specific time. In respect of the fund under World Bank, by December 2019, they were supposed to avail 1,000 crore and spend 1,000 crore. It will be imperative for us to know from the government how much they have spent. Available fund which has been approved by World Bank. The quantum of fund which has been approved by World Bank. What made the government not decide upon utilization of those funds and deprive the state and delay the implementation of those projects? What is the reason? All those questions will be few of the issues which will be part of the proceeding of the House and innumerable issues. So friends, I think we will still look at many more issues which will be taken up by many of our distinguished colleagues in their respective capacities as members of the August House. But few issues are being decided upon collectively by the CLP.